Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. First, thanks everybody for coming earlier than normal. We had another conflict getting our rooms in order. Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning. Okay, yes, next up is a roll call. Me, Harold. Lou's here, but Lou has to resubmit his application to officially participate today.
right?
Yeah, I wasn't kidding. Your term expired and they had that. Don't do that. And Mike. So we have a quorum. Was there any public comments? Yes, we do. Oh, okay.
It's more in a form of a question.
Okay. So Marilyn Kessler from Matarita 1, you're asking about removing littorals on 39?
They have been removed.
They have been
And
removed.
I know I reported that to you at one time, but now the latest email that came out from the ponds was in bold, cannot remove the laurels, which I didn't think they could. He had originally, it was just this much, now it's across the whole back of the house.
Right. So he had put in, he's a fisherman
I know,
and he had put in for permission and that was granted.
okay.
So we did have the ponds contractor
Mhm.
treat his backyard as I've shared with you. You know, I went and took a look and, you know, generally we don't do the whole width of a backyard.
He did it himself, because I saw the guys come over and it was already done. He used his electric, thing
Okay.
like that.
I will work with the contractor and I'll reach out to him, make sure he knows, you know, I believe that the ponds contractor, he had spoken to me and he had told him that when he sprayed it, that he could then harvest what was dying just so it didn't just lean over. So he may have misunderstood the extent of removing what was treated as opposed to what he thought was treated. So
You were saying the contractor.
the contractor, the ponds contractor who sprays around
Uh-huh.
and treats the ponds and they spray for invasives along the bank.
Yeah, but I mean, like the resident was the one who removed it. He had an electric.
Yeah, the contractor had spoken to him and said after he sprayed it and as it was dying that he could then, you know,
Clean it up.
just so,
Yeah.
because he was fishing out there, so he didn't have the dead littorals.
Yeah, because.
Sitting there.
it was. And the only other reason I was bringing it up again is because that last email that was sent out said you can't remove it. I was gonna say, is that all ponds?
Yeah, that is.
Ones that were listed?
So we did have another pond and the homeowner took it upon himself. I believe he was a new homeowner and he sprayed behind his house and killed the littorals. You know, that was addressed by Gateway and we'll be replanting that. If you follow the procedure, it's only if you're for fishing purposes that we will open up bay sections for people to fish behind their house.
Okay, 'cause it's like practically I
The
have
width of
pictures,
his.
it's the whole
Right.
length of the back of his house. And if he wasn't allowed to do that, and then the owner is supposed to pay, he now has a for sale sign up, which is crazy. He's only been there for like about a year and a half, and I looked online and it said, was posted 6 days ago. And I saw the sign again, but it's not. So I don't know positively, but I mean, I saw the sign in the lawn, maybe it was Friday or something like that, and I tried to see this weekend, or maybe it was Saturday. And then this morning when I came, I saw it, but it was like up against their house, like not showing to anybody, but they had.
Yeah, because we're not allowed to put for sale signs up in front of our
Right,
houses.
they're not gonna have an open house, which on a Monday would seem an odd time to have it. They don't know positively. I mean, I looked online, but maybe it was, an old, I don't know, sometimes they show an old
Okay,
news.
well, if he sells his house, then the stuff will all be growing back. This stuff grows back. It,
Okay,
it requires constant maintenance to keep it
because I thought,
wide open, as I'm very, very aware from all the contacts I get
Yeah.
from fishermen as it starts encroaching in.
yeah, because
So-
I thought that he went right down to the roots because he was using an electric.
Yeah, the roots go down pretty much. They'll keep, spike brush is a pretty hardy plant
Yes.
and will usually fight back.
Okay,
So,
well, okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
Especially since he was moving and it said we'd have to pay. I didn't want Matarita to have to pay.
no problem at all.
Something. That's all I wanted to know. We need to bother you all, but
Yes.
I just thought,
Yeah, it's never a bother. Anytime you have a question,
Yeah.
comment, or complaint, you could always come to a meeting or reach out
Yeah.
to me or any of the board members. They'll tell you to go to me.
it was all in the pond and you said, oh, that happens. And then after a while after that, somehow you found out that the contractor we had wasn't doing things right. And that's why all that dead stuff was there. So I'm not crazy. And I'm not a snoop. It's just that my cat was looking out the window and with that fishing perch he has, the birds like to sit there.
Yeah.
And my cat is entertained. So, it's not totally.
Yeah, yeah, now it's really visible. Okay.
Well, maybe I'll just. Thank you guys.
No problem.
Right, thank you.
Okay, any other public comments?
Yeah, if I could, Jim, I'd like to introduce Matt Drake to the pond subcommittee. He's our new stormwater environmental specialist. He comes a lot of great experience. That's why he's been selected to join our team. You'll see him out and about. He's been very active already in a couple of weeks that he's been here already. So just kind of want to introduce Matt. And Matt, if you want to just kind of share with the subcommittee your experience, kind of a little background.
Hockey fan, we know that.
Hi, Norm. My name's Matt Drake. As Paul said, I'm the new stormwater specialist. Then before I started with working here at Gateway, I was with Solid Tube Lake Management for 5 years. I started as a lake spray technician, and the last 2.5 years I was project manager. I specialized in fisheries management, water body restoration, and water sampling and data interpretation. So thanks for having me.
Welcome aboard.
Okay,
Yeah. What's your number?
It's
Same stuff.
yeah.
No, you, what I could do, Mike, is I could email that to all the subcommittee members so that you have it. Plus, I'll include Matt's email address as well. So you'll have his cell phone and his email address. Okay?
okay, excellent. Okay, because we want to make sure that you're getting copies of the pond reports and the conservation reports as they come out. I saw a conservation guys the other day. I
You did?
was over by the Trentino
Okay.
and a lady had said something about it, littorals and a big gator and that. So when I'm there, I hear all this rooting around. I'm like, man, that's a big gator. Then a guy comes with his quad.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
we're in there working.
They were in the conservation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I saw him driving around when I came through here last week too. Conservation guys.
Yeah, he had some questions about some areas that he had been here under a different contractor, and there was areas that are now included that weren't before. And I said, well, yes, so it's, so, okay. I guess next up is approval of the minutes I looked at it, I didn't see anything that was missing or misrepresented or required any changes. I guess, can I have a approval to accept the minutes?
Accept the minutes from the last meeting.
Okay,
I'll second.
nope.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Harold second, Mike, made the motion, Harold second.
Well, you can't pick on me
No, all in favor, yeah.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, financial.
We have a couple months. This is the March financials here. Let me just kind of move this aside and kind of magnify that a little bit.
Don't have April yet.
Yes, and then we also have April. So I'm sure you want to see April a little bit more.
Yeah, so the April is just the most recent. The only question I had, I see on the stormwater systems, there was a 17,161 that wasn't there prior. And I was just wondering what that, I don't recall.
It's encumbered but not spent.
Right,
Right. I could ask Laura what that is.
okay.
It should be vitally.
But we haven't done that.
Well,
We don't have it scheduled, so that's what I was just curious. Prior months, there was nothing there. Okay, everything else is all in line with the expected expenses. Doug, do you know when the downspout, hey Doug, the downspout, do you know when that's gonna be done? When that work is gonna be?
Speech, they're looking at the end of June.
Okay, coming
I
up.
think, but it would be encumbered, but it wouldn't be under stormwater, I don't.
No, that's under the R&M drain boxes.
Right.
And yeah, I see it is encumbered, so,
Right.
I was just curious.
The thing is, the contractor is doing some bank restoration. They try to do that in drier season.
Uh-huh,
And the work here at Ravenna, they
Doesn't
do that
matter.
in wet season.
right,
So that usually will be able to be done in wet season.
okay, so it's coming up shortly.
Yes.
No nothing else stands out. Anybody have any questions on our financial reports? No? Okay,
I have some question. We finished with pond bank improvement money for this year.
yes,
So you're gonna end up plus the 300,000, which
Yes.
is great. Okay,
yes, so we won't need to make that borrow
right.
that we had, we had set up. Originally, we had budgeted $600,000 for the pond bank that we just completed. It came in, 200 something thousand below. So we did not need to borrow the 300 for next year. But because of how this all gets officially done, it shows and it'll be credited, so. And then we'll try to do the same thing next year. Okay, next up, items for discussion. Ratification for on 21 bank restoration, design and bid specifications. So we spoke about this at the last meeting. Next year, pond 21 is the largest pond we have. It is next up in the priority list. It's the pond right on Pelican Reserve Boulevard at the intersection of Cypress Grove. It would be a full bank restoration with the exception of the golf course. And that's excluded not because it's the golf course, but because there's no need for it in that. We walked it the other month and verified that there's no need to do anything there. Is there any, let's see, so what do I need to do?
So this item was discussed in the last pond subcommittee meeting where we were allowed to move forward if it was not to exceed $50,000. So the price did come in less than that at I believe at $27,155. So the task authorization has already been issued and approved. So this is just ratification through the subcommittee. So we're just seeking a vote to ratify the approval.
Okay, somebody make a motion to approve this?
I ratify that we approve this bank restoration for Pond 21 next year.
Okay,
Second.
okay, Harold second.
Harold, second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed? Harold, you had a question?
No, I just said
Okay, okay,
okay, what you just, Bob, what you just ratified was for Tetra Tech to do it,
yes,
but not to do the pond yet.
correct,
Okay.
correct.
This
This is to go out to bid. This is the engineering documents to create the bid documents.
Yeah, I want to make sure everybody else.
Yes.
Yes, it's just for the design and the
Just do the
bid.
engineering.
Yes,
Or whenever you do the.
that is correct.
Doug,
Okay, if I ask a question,
absolutely.
when Tetra Tech does their thing, you're excluding the golf course. Do you have any anticipation that there'll be a larger section of the pond, because it's a big pond, that will not be to be restored because of the, because of the drop? Not that much.
So there's a couple sections on that pond that were identified. There'd be like 2 or 3 houses worth of backyards that there wasn't that a lot of bank degradation. But after 2 years ago doing the one pond, and we didn't do a full pond, it
Yeah.
looks
36,
horrible.
Those.
when you come up and stop, go down 3 houses and continue. So for continuity, it will be, there won't be a lot of work on these areas, but they will either just top dress it or scrape it and top dress it to make it the same look around the whole thing. And the amount of it isn't that much that means that the financial cost, it doesn't make that much of an impact, to say just for the look of it. So, but it was something, the other pond that we did, that we didn't do the whole thing. Frankly, by the time we did it, the areas that we didn't do looked like it needed to be done. So, this way, the whole pond is all at the same starting point when we're done. The littorals will be addressed on it all at the same time, and it will all have the same look for people across the pond looking at it, and the people that are there who are wondering why we skipped their backyard.
Jim, that pond is one of the original ponds from the community?
Yes, that's
WCI,
Yeah.
yeah.
yes,
Original.
yeah, that would be
Is that the first original pond we're doing in the last 2 years?
Probably.
It's the first pond of Old Pelican that we're doing. The rest of them were all in the new Pelican area.
Okay.
Which is also why that has a really nice band of littorals around. It looks, it presents well, especially at such a high visibility pond in the community. Any other questions on?
Pond that the guy drove a car in.
Yeah. We gotta get thicker littorals to stop these incursions. Okay, so that's everything we needed on item A. Item B. Okay, so the 2027 pond meeting schedule, as is usually the case, we always have some issues with getting room reservations for days and times. So what we thought we had reserved, they didn't show. So they said they have a conflict at 10 o'clock. We've gone past 10 in prior meetings and we never had people coming in, but you can't argue. So the easiest way to maintain the day and the time frames, which seems to work for everybody, we just moved it a half hour earlier to 8:30. There's the ones up to August. I couldn't go past then because they say I have to wait for January to put in a new form for the meetings for October and December. So I have a reminder on my calendar, so we hopefully keep getting our room in time. So there's nothing to,
We do need a motion. just-
okay,
yes.
we need a motion to accept our meeting schedule.
I make a motion that we accept the schedule for next year's
Thank you, Harry.
meetings. The 8:30 meetings, 8:30 times?
8:30 times. It was 9,
Yeah, right.
8. Second, Mike second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, opposed? Okay, additional inputs to the district's pond standards and tentative schedule. Okay, so I apologize, the last meeting we had to accept the pond standard. And then I was sitting there reading it, and I just felt that some of the issues surrounding littoral removals are not appropriate for Pelican. They're appropriate for Gateway, but if this is a combined document, I feel that we need to remove anything that is specific for Gateway, either change the verbiage to direct them to their practice as opposed to ours, because I don't want people looking at this saying, oh, I can submit this form, get it notarized, and I can have all the littorals removed behind my house. We don't, that's not our practice in Pelican. It is the practice in Gateway. So I feel.
But Jim, it's Bob,
Yes, Bob.
the purpose of revising the manual
Yes.
is to make the manual better.
Yep.
In other words, to make Gateway conform to what we have.
Right.
So it's to be tighter. We're going to remove the ease with which Gateway currently can remove them.
Okay. Now that's not the ponds groups. It is that the ponds groups
Yes, because
task
we
that
are
is
trying
given to
to
us.
set a standard for all of Gateway.
Okay.
And Paul, chime in if you want. And the standard was to raise the tightness for removal for all of Gateway to conform to the way we do it here in Pelican.
But see, now they have different it's my understanding.
It's gonna be one standard. That's why we're writing this, to make one standard, and they'll conform to us, not us to conform to them.
But now they don't have a requirement to have littorals on.
If we change the pond standards, they will.
But now we have it not just because we chose to, it's because we're also mandated to.
No, we are
No?
not.
I thought it was
That was
mandated by on our
Pond
development order.
standards. Nope, absolutely not.
So this is
I
our,
wrote it when we wrote it.
right,
We
so,
decided to do it in Pelican because it was the right thing to do. And because that wouldn't be supported by Gateway, we ended up with two different methodologies. The purpose of the revising of the pond standards manual is to make it Gateway wide, and it was really to reflect what we did here.
so and thank you, Bob. It is our intent to try to consolidate the two manuals into one. From staff perspective, we would support being a little more restrictive on, some of the aspects that Pelican has currently in practice and what you're doing today. With the only exception is that because some of the board members on the Gateway side really rely on the DO and what it spells out as far as littorals, is it required or is it not? So this will be like our,
Paul, this will supersede the DO.
Ri-
If this is adopted, it doesn't matter what the DO says.
well,
All of Pelican, all of Gateway will conform to this document.
so this will be, and thank you for that clarification. This will be our third iteration. So we are looking for the input from the subcommittee to incorporate what changes need to be added so that we could try to get this through PPAC and eventually to the Board of Supervisors, because ultimately our goal is to consolidate a standard and support it. from the staff's perspective. So we're looking for your guidance, and I do apologize to Jim because on the second go around, yes, there was a lot of things that came up. He had a lot of questions. And some of them are very valid and we support that. So we just want this to move forward. So what we're looking for, again, is a little more guidance. We would like to work with a liaison from the subcommittee, try to work this out in the next few months and then bring it back, for maybe the third, hopefully third is the charm, so that we could try to get this moving forward to PPAC and eventually to the Board of Supervisors. So we're looking maybe to, next few months to kind of work this out, iron out all the details, get a good draft, come back to the subcommittee September, maybe October, and then move it on to PPAC and to eventually to the Board of Supervisors.
Because like item 4, inspection by staff, there's no intention to have staff come over here and inspect. That still remains a function of our group. So the language had to be changed in the pond standards now to reflect that every pond will be inspected, some by ponds work group and some by staff. So that wasn't real clear in the way the language was written.
Right.
There were a
And
couple other things that Marty brought up that we needed to purify the language.
right.
I
And
agree with you, Paul. It ought to be done in a smaller group or with the liaison and then go back.
right. So what we have here before the subcommittee is the comments from Marty, comments from Jim, and rightfully so, we do need to clarify some of the language. I think we were trying to make it somewhat universal where staff could be contractor, it could be the subcommittee group, volunteer group, it could be anybody. But it's just that we do want to put eyes on each of the ponds once a month or as frequently as
But
possible.
we did want to put that ad in stamp.
Right,
Right.
right. So I think Doug has a question.
Did Laura, at the PPAC meeting, Marty's the one that did not approve and pushed it back down to this group. And Laura asked him to come with a note, list of all of his changes, so we wouldn't go through this,
Okay.
with this one change, and there's 2 others on his list. Did we ever see a note from Marty with a list of all the things that he didn't like that went to Laura? Because Laura asked him for that.
Yes, so,
PPAC meeting.
right, so Marty sent to Laura shared it with me. That's what you see here in front of you.
Okay.
So we do have an account for all of Marty's comments and questions and concerns, so.
Because otherwise, this thing would have been approved at the PPAC had Marty not objected to the level we did.
Right. So we do have Marty's questions and concerns. Yeah, so we have Marty's and we also have Jim, so I'm hoping the next couple of months, if we could just work with someone within the subcommittee, we could just iron all the details out and try to get a final draft so that we could kind of bring it back to the subcommittee first, take it to PPAC, and then eventually to the Board of Supervisors.
Yeah, because I see that one thing is that, the form, it's a notarized form because we had one homeowner along the flowway who asked to have his littorals removed. They came to me, it's like, well, it's the flowway, so it's not under our
Right.
role. But I do see that he had to notarize the form, and he could do it once a year. So it's a little different than how we treat fishing areas that are cleared, which does not require the homeowner to submit a notarized yearly form. And it says has it on-site inspection within 30 days of receiving it. Generally when we get this and we approve it, or if it doesn't fall within a questionable, if there's no questions, we just approve it if it's somebody who's going to be fishing.
Right.
But then it's really for us, we just contact our ponds contractor and say, hey, this address, give them a 10-foot, thereabouts gap for that. So, I just hate to see that now somebody has to turn around and.
I got a question for Paul. Is it a common practice in Gateway where residents are requesting to remove turtles? Is that common or just once in a while?
Once in a while, I mean,
It's not a common
But
practice.
there are communities over there on ponds that have no littorals. And that's what we're trying to get rid of. So if Harold volunteered to do it.
Carl, very good. Thank you, Harold.
then we'll work
Thank you, Harold.
But we're trying to bring Gateway up to the real world. And we're gonna this will supersede the DO.
Okay, thank you for clarifying and that, so,
And it will have to go before the board, and Mr. Tingle will never support it. That doesn't mean that the board wants.
well, but it's good to, since there is a desire to have a common standard documented, it's good to have these discussions.
We're trying to get away.
And see if there is common ground, to combine both
And
both
for the
areas.
benefit of the group, if you don't know it, but we were always way ahead. We cleaned our pipes before they ever did. We have a system where the catch basins are cleaned yearly. They never do. We have aeration everywhere. They don't. We have fishing standards. It goes on and on and on. We have done so much more than Gateway. We're trying to get everybody together.
Mhm. No, it's with our, you want to do it with lessons learned instead of having, it saves, the homeowners in the long run.
Sure. But there's different communities in Gateway where we're by ourselves. It's kind of.
Yes, that,
Communities right next to the Gateway
Yeah.
that's
what Paul has to do.
It
Being
costs
more
them money
proactive.
because they don't put littorals in. They have much more erosion. It's costed a lot more money.
Yeah.
They're already spending over $21 billion.
but I could see it getting hard if if areas are used to not having anything and all of a sudden now we're looking to have it. It'd
It's
be all,
gonna be a problem.
what are these weeds? So, we'll remember what Paul looks like now. We'll see him again in a couple of years.
There
And
you go.
How are they paying for that 21 million? It's
Bond.
bonds
Bond.
that we pay for.
No,
Oh, so it's only.
we don't pay for anything. And they're putting an area.
Well, that's an argument why you want to do this because.
Well, because we gotta get a standardized.
Yeah.
And we ought to help them drag them across the finish,
Mhm.
even if they don't want to do it.
Doug has a,
When you view this, Jim, or the group, but I view it that, at least my view was that we could fit within the guidelines. Nothing we did and the way we ran our ponds, there was no conflict. Sometimes the requirements were greater that we had than the document, but we weren't trying to, and when I read through this stuff and went through this, I was not trying to do what Bob said as our group is to make Gateway do more on their side.
right.
I was more looking at this as we could fit within the guidelines, and there was nothing that that caused us to operate differently than we did before this document. As opposed to trying to force our will on the other side.
Right.
I mean, at least that's the way I view it.
And you're right, and I am trying to force a stronger standard.
But you can do that at your level.
Well, I understand, and this is one of the steps to do it.
Right. So we'll keep a balanced approach and then, we'll incorporate,
This is not a bond group battle.
right,
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
right.
That's exactly what I meant. Bob.
And the only thing that
Okay.
I felt was problematic for Pelican was their process, their documented process to remove littorals behind the house,
Mhm.
which we don't offer. And if you have something that offers it, I don't want people saying, "Well, I never liked the weeds." So, and while there was always a practice that they would refer to us to allow or deny, I shouldn't have to deny something that wouldn't be permitted that was never permitted in the first
And
place.
when you say globally, littorals are encouraged or required, if you then have exceptions like the fishing bay or their thing, they can be, in Pelican, it's done this way. In Gateway, it's done that way. You can still do,
Yeah,
maintain consistent.
right, and that's what it just didn't, it just showed the one process.
Harold,
And-
So, in Gateway, if somebody completes a notarized form, it's an automatic approval? It's on.
No, it's not like a rubber stamp process. I mean, we do go inspect and review, but I've only had to do one since I've been here at Gateway Services, so it's not like we receive multiple requests or we're inundated.
I'm even aware of that process.
Right,
You gotta read the.
but there will be in the future when.
Right,
but
so-
it doesn't have littorals now and get them.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
I have what I need. Jim.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jim,
Yes.
does Fishing club exist anymore? I heard it does not exist. At least
I do
heard
not,
that
I do
from-
not know.
Hennessy still represents.
Well, no, Hennessy says it don't exist.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, originally we had it where they had to put in, but at one point it was a,
They call him and he.
yes, but they had meetings and they did a lot more, everything has, ebbs and flows. And that right now, I don't think there's a lot of participation,
Well, they
but,
guided us to put game fishing, because we used to only put sterile carp.
well, and the birds of prey appreciated it. Well, so do the homeowners who get to watch the birds of prey dragging these big bass out of the ponds. They don't do catch and release.
That was it. A couple weeks ago, I was at Gateway, and we're in the tee box, in the pond in front of us. The bald eagle came down right into, I didn't realize bald eagles dive into the water.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Amazing, you see it circling.
I've seen it in the pond behind my house.
He
was sitting-
Yeah, that's what I thought they do. I didn't know that until, wow.
He was sitting on Ibis 8
Yeah.
behind my house, and the guys would come chip up, they come up and they're like, hey, and then all the phones come out. Okay, so we have what we need on the pond standards. Thank you,
Yes.
Harold.
Yep.
Next item is the boardwalk rail maintenance. A couple of contacts were submitted regarding some issues on the top rails and the rails in general on the wood structures around the pond here.
Various bridges, yeah.
Various, bridges here, as well as the boardwalk through the preserve that, the last one was in the preserve, that part of it was jutting out and a homeowner scraped his hand. Once it becomes a issue, it becomes an issue.
Yeah.
So I had, Paul is aware, and they will address the safety concerns, but they also identified that, to properly fix this is going to be more involved. The tops of the bridges is the Trex,
It's a
the composite wood,
composite, yeah.
and, everything that's different, moves differently, than the wood below it, so that could be why some of the screws aren't holding it down. Whether, to me, it's just not, it doesn't show that the contractor was very good, because they should know that we depend on contractors to provide us with their best recommendation. And then they have to install it where it'll last. The tops are going to last forever.
Right.
But if it's not installed with screws long enough, to survive 3 years of life in South Florida, I'm not crazy about the quality of the recommendations or how it was installed.
What did the contract say, Paul?
Well, we would have to try to bring a contractor out. So as Jim mentioned, so this is the top rail is a composite, like a plastic, and with the heat and,
I just want to know if we're beyond warranty when the guys installed it. Did our warranty cover?
I'm not even aware of this. This has got to be well beyond warranty. Doug, can you answer that?
When it was originally installed, we really didn't have problems. Through 2 hurricanes and some of the trees actually falling on the boardwalk, we've had to have people come in after a hurricane to do some repairs. Some of those repairs after the hurricane are where you're seeing some of the issues, that they tried to repair it by putting a longer screw or something like that, and it just didn't hold. After a few months, it was back to the way it was before. But most of the damage you see is through Irma and Ian, and the damage that was done by them, not from the original construction.
Right, but we had the boardwalk rebuilt
Right.
just
That's
about,
what I mean by
just
the-
about 3 years ago.
That was a lot longer
It was,
than-
it was that, it was longer.
Yes.
Right.
Wow, time
So-
flies.
Close to five.
Okay.
Well, yeah, maybe five, but I know it's been done since I've been here.
And
Yeah.
the bridges were done before that.
Okay, yeah,
So it
So,
was done
okay, so-
after Irma.
it's beyond warranty.
So-
That's all I-
Right,
that's all
so-
we need to prepare.
So yeah, the wood underneath the rail, it's aged and the screws cannot attach to anything. It's kind of like rotten wood is where it's at. So that's why you see the buckling. And if you look at,
Do we
if
have
you,
an estimate?
oh, no, we would have to, well, I'm looking for guidance because we could get a contractor. We've done a lot of temporary repairs, but ultimately we need to get someone to go do a thorough inspection and recommendation because we do need to probably replace a lot of these top rails or the top wood and also maybe the post itself.
So you just want a recommendation?
Yes, just to be able to bring a contractor in and then we will bring the estimate back at the next meeting. Yes.
I don't know how many years ago it was, but it was quite a few years ago. The posts were not replaced.
Correct.
So those posts are the original posts from 20-some years ago.
Okay.
And all the foundations.
Yeah, so they just put the new boards on the old posts. So some of those posts could even be rotten or.
Right.
Well, I think they're all pressure treated.
And
So they
right.
shouldn't be rotting per se.
There's nowhere we could, if
Yeah.
you visit any of the rails right now, you'll see there's multiple holes where the screws have been put in. And the screws are now, and with the warping, it pulls the screw right through the
An
composite.
estimate and a
Right. Right,
Okay.
okay.
Question, is it gonna impact Sienna at all? Because the original restoration. I'm talking. No, I had to sign off some paperwork on the restoration there 5 years ago, whatever it was. I hope it doesn't.
Because of the staged material.
Yes,
That's why you
it's the
gotta sign.
material, yeah.
Right. Well, I think because that boardwalk ends and they clearly have the benefit that
They
they
do.
should,
They paid more.
you know, that it's only fair that,
They paid
you
more.
know,
Now Lucius volunteer.
We're gonna put more trees up so you can't get in there.
But, okay, Harold, this is to do with in the conservation area. Can you take the lead in working with Paul and seeing what needs to be done and coming back with what the recommendations are? You know, determine what, I guess, two components, there's bridges,
Right.
and which has a lot of interaction with the residents, and then the conservation area, you know, which has, you know, a lot less traffic, but a lot larger scale and could have, you know, obviously different safety issues if things are warping and,
Cattywampus.
you know,
Right.
going into the walking area. So, so I guess what do we need to?
Just as long as you give me the guidance, then we'll proceed to try to get a contractor because this is more extensive than just maintenance at this
Yeah.
point.
Right, this is
That's
something
where
that's
we-
going to impact the budget
Right.
next, you know.
Bond issue.
An engineering recommendation.
Well, let's see how to do that.
We'll try to do it without the engineering, but we'll try to, try to get a good price, the best price we can get. So that's all I'm seeking.
Okay. And again, you know, when we have these contractors, it's looking for something, you know, that's going to last more than the 5 years that the top rails have been on.
It's tough in this environment.
Yeah,
It
I mean,
is.
it is.
And
It
if it's
is.
just, that's
It
the
is.
way, no matter what we do, it's gonna happen, you know, then we know every 5 years I have to plan on a budget item of, you know, so much,
That's
but
why
it.
you get a million each.
Right.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
Yep, everybody.
Is that in the minutes? Bob said?
Okay, so
Okay.
we'll move forward with trying to get, I'll work with Harold again to see what we could do about, some improvements on on their handrails.
Okay, thank
I
you.
should have stayed in bed this morning.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you've got the only to do.
Well, you gotta lose it, make it.
He's not on the board today.
It does, it's good to be king. Okay, next up, staff updates.
Yes, just want to give everybody some quick updates. So pond 47 and 48 that were done last year, we did a 12-month warranty walkthrough. Basically, we walked those lake banks just to make sure that the project, the workmanship of the contractor has met standards. And luckily, we did not find anything wrong in both of those ponds. They were in really good shape. The water quality was pretty clear as can be. So no issues there with ponds 47, 48.
Good. It was nice having closure on that. The extra grass was installed, and while some of it was stressed with the weather we're having, there is most of it is starting to grow back in. So overall, I'm actually doing a landscape walk later this morning, so I'll have a better feel for the whole how that's all taken and settled, and identify any of the pool overflows that impacted it.
Right.
Good.
Next item is 10559 Sienna Circle. We were notified that the resident removed some littorals unauthorized by the subcommittee or by Pelican. So we did send a letter on May the 12th saying that they're in violation and they should not be doing any sort of removals without the subcommittee approval. And that the removal, the replacement would be billed back to the homeowner. So just to let you know that that was done. The next item is, we have a dead tree along the boardwalk, and here's a quick picture of it. And which has caused us a little safety concern, given how close proximity it is to, within the conservation area. So I just want to bring that to the subcommittee attention. We did get a quote. It came in at $2,950 to remove that tree. We did get approval from the South Florida Water Management District because we had to gain approval prior to doing anything inside. They did ask for us to remove the debris, which was kind of new to me. So, but that's why the cost is a little higher, because they're having to physically, carry a lot of that debris outside of that conservation area. So,
Normally, they will let you touch it.
Right.
They won't let it fall.
I think with the droughts, they're starting to have a different look on burnables.
right. So, and it's pretty massive. I think it's something. So this is the quote. So if there's any objections or any discussion, I'd like to seek approval.
Yes,
Yeah, I definitely need a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept that. Second,
Second.
all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Any questions? That's a safety issue.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
We had the same thing a few years ago, right at the entry behind yours, there was a tree that was hit by lightning. And next thing you know, you see branches on the boardwalk, and it's like, okay, obviously this cannot be overlooked.
Yes.
More to you, Matt. If they change the standard, because I know they changed this about a year ago about if it's cut down in there, you had to get rid of it because of the fire hazard. Will they come back and tell you we changed it back to the way it was before? Because no one ever notified us that you had to move it, take it out until we went back to them and said, we want to cut the street down, and they said you had to remove it. How do they notify you or that they changed the standard from removal of things like that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's a first for me as well.
Because we were shocked that we had to remove it.
Yeah.
Well, when they came out, Doug, I remember one behind Arena. And we were specific, or Casella, excuse me, and we were specifically told you can top the tree, but you have to leave it lay.
And they changed that after that.
Right, so I guess it's every situation.
They did offer for us to top it, but given how close it is, we don't think it's a good thing to do that,
Well,
so.
not going, well, not the topic.
Right.
But the fact is that when you top it, you can't take it.
Mhm.
Right.
That's what's surprising.
Right. So with every situation, we'll go through the process of getting approval from the, right, just take their
Right, if
the
the
direction.
standard changes or that specific instance requires it different, they will tell us at that point.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay.
Okay, next item is the aerators at ponds 36 and 37. So we did undergo some challenges with that. There was a wire between the transformer and the FPNL meter that severed, so we did not have power to those two aerators. Long story short, it's back on as of Friday. We had Bentley Electric to go troubleshoot. We had to contract with FPNL to do some standby time to be able to help us go through this process. So we did incur some costs. I've not received Bentley's bill yet, but that's something that we'll have to get approval to pay not only Bentley but also FPNL, because this was a little more complex situation given the fact that the power, the wiring was severed between the meter and the transformer.
The choice you're gonna have to
Right.
make.
Yeah.
Right, so I just kind of wanted to share that with the subcommittee. So whenever I receive those bills, I'll process them and charge them against the aerators.
Thanks to Paul for his persistence on this. I mean, I couldn't receive the email at the end. I didn't hear anything from him for about 10 days. And I sent him an email. As soon as he's done, after he did, he sent me back this email string. It literally took me 20 minutes to read through. Well, back and forth between FPL, the electrical contractor. I mean, it was ridiculous.
So did they know why that line got severed?
It wasn't installed right. The conduit ended
Oh,
before it went into
Right.
the FPL's
Transformer, yeah, right.
So
it rot or?
Yes,
Yeah.
with the water and condition of the soil, it just caused maybe an arc and it just started corroding the wiring. Plus, we did upgrade the wiring. It was they used aluminum, but now we have copper wiring, and we ran conduit fully from the meter into the transformer, so it should prevent that from reoccurring in the future. So we're in a much better situation.
coincidentally, they were just doing work on the street lights around the same time.
Right.
And everything went out. Just a coincidence, I'm sure.
Yes, it was.
That's why I asked the question.
Okay, and the last thing I have is that we're going to be working to address some signage on certain ponds and conservation area. I did get the signs that Doug had in his garage, so we'll try to consolidate that and try to manage that. So Matt is going to be working on trying to get those signs updated and installed in the right place.
These are some new signs for adding.
Yes, on a couple of the ponds, we are adding new signs. Right.
Yeah, we had gotten a complaint from the HOA president in Trentino that the ponds right by the bridge, there was no pond signs. I don't know where after all this time. So I went over, verified it. Even between the properties where the easements are, where it would belong. So that's when I wrote out, I contacted Paul. So we have the means to proceed on that.
Signs still look good. The conservation signs still look very good. Peter did a great job with it.
Yeah, those are all my updates, Jim.
Okay, I just had a couple of items that came up a little late. I just was looking for the board for to approve. So we had budgeted for some littoral planting on some ponds. I know we've okayed it before. I should have a quote from Superior this week. It's the time of year to plant. So as long as it is not to exceed the $39,000 left in our budget. This is for ponds 18, which is right out here. The rest of them are all in New Pelican. We're trying to get these ponds up to the standards. Superior does all the ponds now. Where the littorals are coming back in a lot of the ponds back there. So, but this is needed to bring it back. Some of the ponds really don't have anything or just have some spike rush, looking to add some variety, a little color to make it more appealing for the homeowners. And it also goes into the upper pond bank to help with the bank stabilization. Yes.
I get several complaints about Pond 58. And I did go take a look at it, and it needs some littorals back there. Is that on the list?
It is now.
Let me see. Well, that all depends. We're not going to put any littorals if it's up for pond bank restoration, because then that impacts. I don't want to spend money and then
Tear them down.
Yeah.
3 years later negate the word.
Not for a few years.
Yeah, with that, generally, I, you know, it's hard for me to plant stuff and then bulldoze it over. Because even in 2 or 3 years, it's not going to be, it's still in its infancy, taking root, so it hasn't spread. So we just ask for people to be patient on ponds that have pending bank work.
I did say it was on the list.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I know we've spoken and, because otherwise, if people have raised it, I usually will take a look and verify it. Then I'll look at the bank restoration priority sheet, again, just for that purpose. And if it's not, then I, try to add that on. So I'm looking for approval to proceed with this year's littoral installs for ponds 18, 38, 41, 42, 43, 45, and 52. Not to exceed what our budgeted amount is.
Mike makes a motion that we go ahead and proceed with the littoral as planned for this year.
Second, Harold, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Let's see, stormwater system inspection. So we're up for our periodic stormwater system inspections. What did I get myself into? So I'm going to, let's see. This is more for an FYI. This will be in the budget for 2027. I'm working with Extreme Divers to come up with a quote for inspection. And with that, I've had a number of back and forths trying to identify the structures that they're inspecting. I look at our GIS system. I got a download of everything, but that includes everything from the firehouse to tree line, the commercial properties, C5, some another gateway bordering community, as well as I know we have primary and secondary systems, some areas that run behind some of the developments. So I'm working with them to identify what they do. Their GIS system is not what we use, so their numbering sequence is not readily applicable to what we use. So I'm trying to come up with the means. And the reason for that is I want to be able to track what they did last time. They identified certain drains that were blocked, say 80% or 100% blocked. Now it's been 4 years. I want to be able to look and say, okay, oh, these same ones are 100%. Well, I don't want to wait 4 years, or I have to see why are these getting blocked. Plus, it also gets to eliminate the need to look at other ones on a regular basis. So this is more trying to work on something to use as a tool in the future to better manage what we're inspecting. And so we budget, we know what our budget needs are going to be to keep our street drains flowing so we don't have issues in hurricane seasons. So a lot of questions that I have with Extreme Divers, much to their chagrin. I will update as we come with more clarification. He also mentioned fish grate maintenance is due. We do have that budgeted. So I will look for approval to have our fish grate maintenance done this year. So I'm gonna make a motion.
You need a motion when it's on the budget. Budgeted item.
Budget item, then I guess it's not, then it's just, I guess,
Just do it.
just do it. It's a budgeted item. Does anybody have any questions? Do it the fish grates. Nobody knows. No. Don't ask Gateway. They don't have it.
Yeah, we don't have any.
So it's on the GIS system. It shows the locations of them. Basically, it's at where our basins leave the property. It's, if you put in sterile carp.
Just before Bravo.
Right.
Concrete structure.
Yeah.
And there's one behind, Walgreens area there.
Yes.
It just allows the fish to move on the pond.
No, it prevents them from leaving the property.
So it's like,
We
it's
bought-
like a dam.
We bought the fish.
Yeah.
So it's only at the egress points of the pond.
And I also,
Right, pond 38,
Right,
right?
they're not allowed to leave the property.
they don't, like, if you stock fish, they're not supposed to leave the property, sterile carp. There's all requirements and that, and I agree, if we're paying stock fish. Although from what I understand from Rich is fish are generally not migratory at all. If you stock them at the north end of this pond,
That's what he said.
odds are they're gonna be staying at the north end of the pond unless something physically drives them someplace else. They may go to the deeper areas in the hot weather, but they don't, they're not going through our pipes
It
going.
just makes sense. Go
But-
buy fish
Yeah, right.
and then let it move.
Oh, yes,
Move to the
Okay.
full way and say goodbye.
you
So
know.
how many grades do we have total?
Oh,
Three?
yeah, I think there's
There were
three.
more than that.
I think there's a set. I think there is more than that. I think it's 6 or 7.
Yeah, right, that map I saw you had. them.
Well, it's on there. It's on our GIS.
Yeah.
So, Jim, we do have $10,000 budgeted for fish grade and line item and aerator maintenance.
So as long as it is under $10,000, we'll be proceeding, and then I'll be tracking the year that it's done. Again, not looking to do this more often than is needed, but
What did they do?
stuff accumulates in the
They get
grate.
moldy and stuff.
And,
Well, I
and
was
this,
saying, I keep ours clean. Yeah, because,
yeah, but this also can impact the flow of water. So we definitely don't want anything, anytime you add a grate adds a location for stuff to branches or
definitely
stuff
clogs
to
up.
start clogging it up, and we
it
don't,
doesn't clog up until the water level comes up.
yeah, when it brings up new stuff to it.
Right.
It's just we've never done it on the
Okay.
village.
Doug?
What, Jim, you brought up weeks ago, that to me, the issue with the secondary drains. So the secondary drains are the responsibility of the HOA/COA type of thing. And in the past, go way back to when Bob was responsible for street drain. And then when I took that over, we were doing the secondary drains. We didn't know we were, but we were. We were inspecting them from when I look at this stuff, we were inspecting them. And if they were needed to be cleaned, we were cleaning them.
Right.
And it wasn't our responsibility for the secondary drains. That's where we're at now, correct? That's what we've done the last.
That's what
time.
I'm trying to determine, because there's other issues. So there could be a street drain, which we're responsible for. We want to make sure that our street's drained. If that line now goes behind, I'm just going to say behind Sienna.
Yeah.
Where there's other drains. Well, if I don't inspect and clean those, my street drains aren't going to drain.
Right.
So I would have to turn around and identify that line from wherever there's a street drain to the pond, and any place in that path, make sure that I don't have anything that's going to create a blockage. Because it doesn't matter if I clean out the street drain,
Right.
if where it's trying to go isn't allowing a free flow of water. So
To
I'm
get
trying to
the-
identify, so some of it, and then it comes down, well, what if there's one branch off of it? Do we hold a HOA to monitor, to maintain one, that's not realistic.
It's complex.
So if there's 5 that branch off, I'd say, okay, well, that's a valid thing that doesn't impact clearing our streets. You know, and so this is something that I'm working to identify. Work in progress. I'm trying to make sure I have, that I could justify it to myself, that it makes sense, which doesn't come into play. In the real world, but, if it makes sense, I will, put forth that argument that, and why I feel that we should be doing it a certain way.
But do we have a complete map of all the drains?
Oh, God, yeah, the GIS system.
Yes, yeah.
It's all available. And I could, if anybody has any questions, doesn't know, isn't comfortable with maneuvering through it, I could definitely show how to do it. It's really interesting, and it provides a lot of information if you're so interested in having
And
that.
the other part of this that we talked about with Brad and with GIS is that every street drain and every catch basin should have a unique number. When you look at that catch basin number, you know exactly where in the community it is. That's number one. Second part of it, where the data is currently available with Extreme, is what is the capacity of that catch
The
basin?
catch basin,
Is it a 12-inch catch basin or a 36-inch? And they're variable.
Right.
Extreme knows what they have. And we've asked them to give that information to us so we can put it into our GIS system. So we'll all know if one is at, 80%, the thing's 3 foot, that might be a problem.
Right.
If it's 80% full and it's only 12 inches,
Yeah.
probably not a problem.
so what he's referring to is in the box, the pipes come in, but then there's a settling catch basin. So anything sand comes in, the water flows, it drops down, so it keeps it out of the pipe system. In theory, and that's what periodically should be cleaned.
How often? 3, 4 years, you say?
Well, right now, we're doing it every 4 years. But now if I find say there's 50 of them that are back at 100% that were 100% 4 years ago. Now I want to see that that's a problem. And, but again, knowing which ones, now you could just turn around and contract with them and say, okay, I need you to inspect these.
That information is not on the system.
We don't have that.
Extreme has it, but we don't.
We have it on paper from the last inspection, but from beforehand that's beforehand, so that's a no.
So you said they have a different numbering system than we do?
So we have a different numbering system. Gateway has a different numbering system. They have a different numbering system. Some of their numbering system is in our GIS system, but you can't search
We
by
have an
it, so.
independent GIS to Gateway. Gateway has their own GIS. We have one with Passero. We developed it first. They're trying to catch up. Typical, like everything else. But by way of background, just so you know, when we started cleaning pipes, we put divers in all the 30-inch and greater pipes because we didn't know. We learned over time that if we keep the catch basin clean, the pipes will never get dirty.
It makes sense. Yeah.
So we learned that, and it turned out to be a lot cheaper for us to do it this way. So now we've matured to the point where, as Jim is saying, if we watch our problem catch basins, we can save even more money. Some catch basins never get anything. So we don't want to be paying a lot of money for somebody to go look at them.
Because when you think of it, we don't, I'll say Carina, we don't have any, very few oak trees anymore. So you don't have the branches and all this stuff. If you don't have a lot of pools being installed, or, a lot of construction where, you're getting sand being
Going back,
accumulated.
18 years ago, when we started this, we had no idea what it was gonna cost. So we went to Extreme Divers and said, look, how much money do you need to check these every year? And he said, well, you can give us $80,000 a year. Okay, we're gonna give you 80,000, wrote a contract. And the first year he did X number, the second year he did some more. By the time we got through 4 years, we'd done the whole community. We don't need to spend quite that much anymore. So we've all learned that we can do this more efficient.
And they did tell us that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not that they're looking to just take all of our money. You know, they're a great part.
Yes.
The information and the knowledge that they have, you know, I feel
They know
Very,
better than
very-
we do.
very, you know, if he recommends something, you almost like, okay.
And we
you
did
know.
this before we had the restraints of Gateway looking over our shoulder. We had a lot of latitude down.
They found a lot of stuff in those.
They
Well-
found wheelbarrows, they
Oh,
found pallets,
You know.
Yeah.
oh my God.
But again, this was from when we were under construction, so
Yeah.
all of the builders' sins have now been flushed out of the system, so to speak.
How many catch bases are in the community?
Oh, God.
Well, this is
Up and down.
900.
Yeah, close to 1,000.
Well, you got catch basins, which are in the streets. You got mitered end sections,
Mhm.
which are out in the ponds, and you got head walls. You got to check all that because
What the hell?
head wall where it's flush in a pipe,
Okay.
mitered end section where the, 30-inch pipe is
Right.
open. And you gotta be careful that you don't get migration of bank materials into those.
Back into the pipes,
Back in Chicago. So when you say you're doing catch basin, you're really doing all.
right. Doug,
Didn't you just get, is that 17,000 up there on stormwater? That was the estimate they had given you to do every.
No.
What was the cost that Brad quoted you, Brad and Scott?
Like
for-
40,000?
he didn't,
No, no.
well, he provided the last one.
Okay,
So if he meant that that would be the same,
and that was just
Well,
to say, to.
that was
inspect
just to
the-
inspect,
That's just to inspect, no clean.
correct.
And what was that number?
39,000.
Yeah. Was it 30?
it's 39,000.
I think that was more along the line, because it's a lot, there's,
Right.
you know, 800 or something, there's
Yeah. Okay.
a lot of, items, and like I said, I've gone to him with a number of questions, trying to identify everything. I know I spoke to Deb Gentry, in Prado, and they got a quote, it was, I think, like $60,000 to inspect and clean their secondary drain system, so they're not doing anything. And they have a lot of secondary drains, the nature of the configuration of that,
Community.
community. You know, but back to what I was saying, you know, I need to identify the lines from the street drain to the pond and what's in between to better identify what is it a secondary grate that I feel needs to be addressed by the GSCDD, or, you know, to maintain the path from the street drain to the pond. You know, so we, you know, and if, you know, again, this is just my take, I have to, that won't get you very far. I have to then, you know, suggest or propose that we look at it this way and proceed this way. But until I have, you know, a full picture of the scope, you know, I'm just, you know, what I'm looking at and what I hope to do, in consultation with Brad and team.
Are you having problems, because we have different numbering systems?
Yes.
Identify, well, I'm gonna say.
I've asked them if they can use ours, but, you know, they have a
They
different
don't
GIS.
have, do they have access to ours?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
everybody has
Okay.
access, and I could, you know, I got it download dumped into Excel
Okay.
and that. It's just manual trying to coordinate the locations, you know, following the path, is it, you know, sitting out, you know, if it starts on tree line and comes on our side of tree line and comes right into our pond, is that ours? Does the county do the drains on tree line? Do you have any idea?
That's a good question. I'll have to look into that.
Because that was gonna be a question I'll
Right.
be reaching out to you, because again, no desire to include these if it's not something that is in my budget role. I also don't want to ignore it and find out after it's not draining.
Well, what's the last thing you get, tree line floods? Doesn't impact, I mean, really, I mean, it doesn't impact.
Well, it does, because, well, Facebook will go down.
What will go down?
And they'll identify us. And they'll identify us. They'll create a new Facebook page.
Yeah.
But before it degrades further. So that's everything that I had.
You wanna talk about deferring pond 21?
On 20.
28. Refurbishing pond 21.
Right, we did that.
Well, no, we authorized the engineering. Right.
Yes.
My question to you is, remember the discussion we had about the impact if we did it next year? It negatively impacts golf and the commercial areas significantly. If you do it in 27, but if you do it in 28, there'll be no cost.
Okay, so I spoke, and I think there's, because of she said that that's not how it'll work.
That's exactly how it works.
Yeah, no,
Is she listening?
Laura said it's not. I went to Laura and she said you were confused with that. So from the standpoint of the way it works with a high water mark, if the high water mark gives the commercial, that's 60K more for the golf course, okay? That's true, the high water mark. But when it comes to when they actually calculate, not the high water mark, but the actual, then it takes into account the reserves offset it by 300K and it's
Okay.
less. That's what she said.
Okay, let me rephrase the question. Historically, this group has always banked the money before they did the work. And I'm making a recommendation. You consider the pond 21 is not critical. It really is in pretty decent shape. It is the next one. It needs to be done. I don't think you need to do it in 27. And I would much rather you kept your budget at 804. And then you, in the 27 budget year, you'll save $300,000. And then in 28, you've now got to carry forward 300,000 with your current 300,000. And in 28, if you do it, it makes it very, very clean. So that's the suggestion. You just put it off for 1 year. And you don't need to have $1.1 million. You'd have to go back to your 804 budget. I'd like you to consider it.
I have, like I said, there's no critical nature that this has, that we're in danger of, liability issues or that.
It stops an awful lot of the variations in budget. It'll make it much cleaner for you.
What if the next year when you borrow that money you took it out of your own reserves?
Yeah.
That you'd still have $1 million that year,
No.
is what I'm saying.
No. Well, but because you're taking that as reserve. What we're trying to stabilize is the assessment. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Most of you don't recall, but at one time, the carry forward reserve for bonds was over $1 million.
Yeah,
And the reason we did that was, we knew full well that in the futures, we wanted aeration everywhere. And we had the money and we did it without assessing our own money, more money. And then we wanted to do the pond banks. The downspout. And we had the money and we did it. It keeps the amount that goes to assessment at 804,000 a year. You still have the money to spend. You just accumulate it before you spend it, rather than getting to this, I'll call it BS, where you're gonna tap into the reserves and then you're gonna put it back. You don't need to do all that bullshit. Just put pond 21 into the 28 calendar year and you're good. One person's fault.
Do you think this property tax amendment is gonna affect
All right,
budget?
budget.
The budget
I don't know.
for us?
No, because we're not at the law.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the.
I know.
Right.
Less money is gonna affect a lot of
So
different
the
things.
thing that got my attention this year was that our golf went up $60,000. And when I asked Laura why, and that was the reason. Now,
you're right, Bob.
well, she didn't tell me about high water mark and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, if we just defer it for 1 year, we're not impacted by any of it.
Okay. Hey Doug, from P-PAC, is this something that they would,
We can talk about it.
You know,
We got to
If
meet
you
with them.
recommend it, they'll do it.
well, they're at a higher level, yes, I'd like to see all the ponds done.
Wait, we can have a discussion at P-PAC on what he's talking about, the financial impact on the, the commercial.
If there's an
Discussion
impact
more
on
about-
borrowing, if there's an impact on borrowing, I have no problem
Why
in
do you
waiting.
get into that cloudy area when, very, very simply, this group can contain it? If you just put it off a year, it doesn't impact anybody else. It's very, very simple.
But are we putting off some other bank restoration?
No, because we still only have X amount of budget to deal with.
Well, but to answer your mind, we probably do not have a bank in here that
Has to have.
that is critical to do. We're getting it. I mean, when you consider, when we formed the group, we had some bank drop-offs over 5 feet. I mean, when you went down into that pond, you couldn't even see the grass. I mean, and now we're talking whether it's 9 inches or 12 inches. We're in such good shape. So there's.
It is something, not to minimize the 9 to 12 inches, that is out
The
of
threshold.
the threshold from South Florida Water Management, which is why we are doing the bank restorations instead of just,
And if you go into
letting it
any
go.
other community, they're gonna be much greater than we are. We are in so much better shape than
Yeah.
anybody else.
That also impacts how much they're gonna spend when time comes, when they redo their bank. Obviously, if you have a 2-foot drop off, your costs are gonna be
And I still remember when
proportionately.
Gulf Harbor assessed every home $4,500 to fix their banks. As a special assessment, and we have avoided that for 20 years.
Yeah, and more than anything, it's like you're alluding to with living within your budget. You want to, if I have a cost, I want to make sure I'm budgeting it. So there is no special assessment.
Use that reserve, each year, that it works very, very well. Save it first and then spend.
So you want to, but P-PAC,
Well,
talk about
It's
that?
your decision.
Right,
well,
what do you want to do?
it's, if there is a sound business reason to push it off as opposed to borrowing, if it makes no difference to borrow, it keeps the momentum going. It's a year.
Well, if you did it in 27, that means you don't do anything in 28.
Right,
If you do it in
yeah,
28,
so, right,
You got the money.
it's different sides of the same nickel. But
unless we don't spend it,
if you never do it,
then we have extra money, but then you have extra money, then the following year you're doing maybe.
well, I'm trying to avoid a big long discussion at P-PAC because they don't know what they. No, I'm sorry.
No, it's right
Doug
there.
would know. Doug would be the only one who would know.
Hope they're not on service.
Yeah.
If you do it here,
You're in trouble.
I'm listening, guys.
That's what I'm trying to.
We don't hear you, Peggy. Okay,
Do
make a motion?
Once again, I will move that we consider putting off Pond 21 bank restoration to 2028.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. How does this impact the Tetra Tech?
Doesn't affect it at all.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
Because it didn't
it's
go
already-
out for bid.
It's, yeah, right, so they're just working on design and also the bid specification, so. Once they're done, we'll just have to put it on the shelf until the subcommittee's ready to move forward with
Because
it.
nothing will change in a year.
Exactly.
Well, you could even put it out for bids, so you know what it's gonna cost. But
Yeah, but no, for a full year,
They won't want to do that.
right,
whatever.
okay,
Okay, so we'll defer it until 28.
2028.
I think they said consider.
What?
The recommendation was to consider.
Yeah.
He didn't recommend to defer it. He
Yes, I
recommended to
did.
consider.
I did recommend deferring.
Okay,
That was what I recommended, deferring.
okay,
So there'll be no pond restoration at all. next
no
year.
pond restoration in
You'll bank the money and do it in
2027. Any,
Who has the
You're
list
not
of
you're
what
not gonna change, you're not gonna change our budget.
the budget will be $804,000.
Not gonna change.
Won't change. Who has the list? here?
after that, it's pond 26, which is small,
It's a very small one.
estimated at about 1672 linear feet, followed by pond 41 at 1442. So these are small. The rest of them, nothing is like this. The rest of them are all in the 15 to 20 to 2,000. So these usually you're doing 2 ponds at a year to do the, you know, to be in the 300,000 ballpark.
We went 15 years without doing a problem.
Let's see. Okay, okay, one question with we have a new contractor for the fountains,
Yeah, I was gonna provide an update if you don't mind.
please.
So we do have a new contract now for the front fountains. Obviously, it's very visible and every time I drive by it, it's not working right, it's driving me crazy.
One's 8 foot, the other's on.
It's crazy. So anyway, we no longer use pool troopers. We have a new contract. We started last Monday. And they're called VIP pools. They're the same contract that is being used here now, in the town center. So they started, I met with the cleaner last week. The back behind that wall, you don't want to go walking back. I mean, it's a mess. It's a mess. So they're gonna give us a quote to clean everything up in the back there. There is a software system that we are using that nobody really knows much about, but that's how the timer is actually adjusted by a software. So they're supposed to look at that. It's there, it sits there, I forget what it's called, Palantir or something like that. Penetier, I think is what it's called. Anyway, they're gonna look at that and see what they have to do to get that. We might have to contact pool troopers, Paul, to see if they would give us access to that. If they have to, we don't know that yet. You can look into that and see if we have to do that. So that'll get done. I've asked them also to give us a quote from their electrical contractor to come out and get the lights working underneath.
Yes.
That. Been, how many years since that's not been working?
Mhm.
And then they'll, once all this is done, we're gonna get a quote in. It's gonna cost some money. We don't know what it is yet. I was supposed to meet here with it from him, the guy that actually does all the maintenance. Last week, he hasn't called me, so I'll contact him again this week. Just like anybody we're dealing with these front fountains, I guess it's not a big deal for them, but they don't seem to be really on top of things. So you kind of have to keep pushing them. Yeah, but anyway, so that's kind of where we are with that.
Well, I'm glad they also maintained the fountains in the town center, so they,
That helps.
they're here more than
That helps.
just for the front,
Right.
which, they couldn't be bothered
Exactly.
at the end of pool troopers reign,
Doug fixed most of them. He climbed the fountain.
They
But-
also do the pools too, not just the fountains.
Yeah. Yeah, so, so hopefully, with them being here, they'll spend a little more time, or as they come in the community, they'll say, oh, that's not working right.
Yeah, I mean, any adjustment though is an additional cost. That's not part of the contract. All the contract is for cleaning. And they're doing that twice a week now, Tuesday and Friday typically.
Yeah, but adjustment, perfect world should never need to be adjusted, because as long as everything's clean, the pressure's the same. And as long as nobody goes back and starts
Yeah.
changing,
Yeah.
the valves and whatever. So, okay, good.
Location, fountains are where?
These are the front fountains.
The entryway on Tree Line,
The tree line.
on the right-hand side.
Yep.
No, this is
No, it's
this is in Pelican,
In Pelican.
right? When you come in towards the gatehouse, on the right-hand side, is the 2 fountains with the 3 jets.
Is the monuments at Tree Line and Cologne.
Right, right, there's sign.
That's what we're trying to say.
Harold, it's on the one side it's 6 foot tall now, on the other side it's 0.
No.
Right.
Yeah, you'll notice it. I'll get
If
it.
Doug would get out there and fix it.
Come on, don't bring anybody else's attention to it.
Yeah.
To it. But so good. Hopefully it makes a better impression on our entry into the community.
Item
Again,
10, Paul, need to change the time. Because it says it's still 9 o'clock instead of 8:30.
Right,
The August meeting.
yes,
It's gonna be
yeah,
8:30.
It's gonna
that should be
yes, it'll be
8:30.
8:30. Thank you, KW. Anybody else have any issue, updates on any of the other? Groups, let's see, conservation, downspout, fish stocking, GIS, basins and aeration. We have covered everything. Al Slicker, he's not here, but he's going to be the interface with Superior Waterways. I haven't seen a ponds report lately, so I'm going to follow up with him, ask him to reach out to Eric and make sure that something didn't get dropped. Usually we see this at least once a month. They send over all the pond reports. I sent them out to the pond inspectors. So if they have the interest to see, you know, what's been done on the ponds that they're walking in, might explain why they see a ring of treated spike rush around their ponds. Next scheduled meeting is August 10th at 8:30. And if any of the board members, you're going to reach out and submit a new application.
You need someone else?
You're not replaceable.
Experience.
You know, with what you bring. Actually, if you're interested in continuing on, you know, we'd love to have you, if, you know.
I'll email you.
Okay. You know, but if you can't make it, just make sure that you let us know so we know we have a quorum, because we need a quorum to conduct business. There's nothing else? Well, the pond, the water testing is going good, Michelle?
Good.
Now we have a new person up at that Hyacinth. How is that?
She changed the numbering system a little bit. It's now on 007
Oh, really?
and 050.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yes, Hannah. Her name is Hannah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's big shoes to fill, though. You know,
And water results are excellent.
good.
It's always been good, hasn't it? It really, when you look at over many, many, many years, it's.
How does that compare to Gateway's water pond testing?
We do it with, Sanders Lab,
Yes, which is now
which is now.
Aquafine or Fine or, yeah.
something like that, yeah.
Yeah, but Center Lab is the ones who.
Yeah.
But
is
now,
our test point.
how are your
Your
results? Are they, I'm just curious if there's a difference of Gateway Pond. We have a lot of littorals, we have aerators,
Does that make?
we have fish, you know, because it would be really nice knowing that all this extra work has something that you can see a result, you know,
Yes.
So why don't you go over and take some samples?
Now, you can't use them, correct? Because you can't use that free service.
Right, that's correct, yeah. That's correct.
Why not?
It's something, before my time, but they opted out and go with Sanders Labs to do our water testing.
I think it's something to do with that your government or with.
That's the reason.
Yeah.
It's
And
with
we
the-
are
Pond Watch wants to do it
Mm.
for a government entity,
Oh,
but they will do it for HOAs.
okay.
Consider us an HOA.
Yeah, we're considered a non-government, even though we're on, go through.
you know, because the only other thing that comes into play is how the golf course is managing their
Run them.
runoff into the ponds,
And the
and
water quality is good. and
they also have,
It's
you know,
interesting going over there too, because that's where they had the airfield for World War II. There's a little museum there, and
oh, okay,
that's where the mosquito control.
yes.
Fly out of there.
yeah.
It's interesting, yeah. Nice facility.
Still will be-
Yes,
I work with them on.
the documentation he provides out there, it's,
Yeah.
you know, the benefits of littorals,
Oh, yeah.
providing you tools to share with, you know,
I worked with him on a number of projects in the past, and just. For sure.
okay. I guess if there's nothing else, call for an adjournment.
Can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Yeah.
In a second.